All right. Hey folks, it's Brittany, your favorite plant-loving internet stranger, and today we're going to be diving into whether or not you should be investing your time, energy, and money in online plant shopping. Now, before I started buying plants online, I was a bit concerned. I didn't know if it was a good idea for me to be putting my money into online plant retailers. So I've come up with a list for this video of some pros and cons to help you determine whether or not you should look into purchasing plants online. So we're going to start with the pros of why you should consider purchasing from online plant retailers. Number one, competitive pricing. I find that the prices are very competitive, and just as you would shop for anything else online, you can just do a quick search to compare prices across websites when it comes to some of these more highly coveted plants that can be rather expensive if you're purchasing them locally. Shop for plants online in the same way that you would shop for anything else. You want to search for something, compare the prices, and then purchase the item that fits best within your particular budget at the price that you feel most comfortable with. You can do the same thing online with plants. Usually you can find some highly coveted plants for very good prices at prices that are significantly cheaper than you might find them at your local plant boutique, or you may find that there are also more options online than you would find locally as well. If there is a plant that you've been searching for and you can't find it locally, it may be worth it to pay a little bit more if it's something that you really want and you see it online and it's in stock. Why not just go ahead and make the purchase? Number two, more size options. Compared to what you might find at a local plant shop, I have found that there are typically more size options. And when I say size, I'm talking about the size of the pot that the plant comes in, and typically if it's a larger or smaller size plant, the size of the actual plant and foliage is going to correspond to the size of the plant, right? So if you're looking for a snake plant and you want a medium-sized snake plant and all you can find in your local plant nurseries are small or extra large size snake plants, maybe take a look online and see if you can find one that meets your needs at a price point that you feel comfortable with. But if you can find that online and get the exact size that you're looking for, I think that's a great option. Now, because this is online, you're gonna have to gauge what the size of the plant will actually be. And if you didn't want a full-size plant, you can also find clippings for sale online, in addition to plants that are not necessarily clippings, but that still might be young plants that are bare root. So that basically means that there's no soil. The plant has been rooted, usually in either soil or water, and it is going to be shipped to you bare root so that you can then take it out and put it in whatever growing medium of your choice. Maybe you don't feel comfortable paying the full amount for the large plant, but maybe you would feel a bit more comfortable if you paid a fraction of the price for a clipping and then you go ahead and root that plant yourself, and then plant it up however you want to. Or maybe you're concerned about getting soil and all of that shipped to your house because you're afraid of pests and things. Going the bare root option is a really great way to avoid a lot of those concerns. Number three is shipping and local delivery. As with anything else that you might buy online, there's the convenience of being able to look around your house, decide you want a plant, go online, shop for the plant that you want, the specific plant that you want, find it online, buy it, and then it is shipped to your home and you'll have it in the near future. This is one of the great reasons to consider plant shopping online, is simply for the convenience of having it shipped to you. Now, if you don't feel comfortable having a plant shipped to your home, a lot of plant shops may offer local delivery. So there are a couple of plant shops in my area that I can go onto their website, and these are more of the like boutique type plant shops, which means that the price tag is typically a little bit higher. They're more of the they're more trendy type shops, the hipster shops, if you know what I mean. But these places, you can go onto their website. You can either select the option to have it shipped to you, through some ground delivery service, or there's typically an option that's either a free delivery option based on the cost of the items that you're purchasing, or they'll have a fee for local delivery. So someone will literally bring the plant to you, and you can determine which day they drop it off, or maybe they have a set delivery window on a certain day, but someone from the plant shop will deliver these plants to your door. So they're not packaged up, they're not like in a box. They usually just come either like straight up, here's the plant and I'm handing it to you, in its pot or its basket, or it is going to be in a shopping bag and they'll just sit it at your door. So if that's an option and that makes more sense to you, consider plant shops that offer local delivery. Cons: there are some things that you need to consider when purchasing plants online. Here are some of the things that came up for me when I was determining whether or not it was a good idea for me to purchase plants online. Number one, fear of pests. So I didn't know what I could be potentially inviting into my home by purchasing a plant online and then it coming from somewhere and I couldn't see the plant, and what's in the soil, what's on the leaves, is it infected with something, but I got over that and I had a really good experience with the first plant that I purchased online. It's really easy to look at the plants that you're buying in person and inspect them for pests, but there is really no way that you can do that when you're buying a plant online, and you're at the mercy of whoever is packaging your plant up. You're at the mercy of whoever is picking your plant off the shelf or out of the greenhouse and putting it in that box, and just hoping and praying that what you get is going to be something that is not going to fall apart or crawl out of the box as soon as you get it. So I have ordered some plants that have come in the not best condition as far as being infested with some sort of a pest, but then I've also purchased plants from the store, in person at the store, that have also been infested with something, and I didn't know it until I brought it home. So this could really happen either way. It's just one thing to be mindful of that you could potentially have to deal with. One way to avoid that is to always look at the reviews. If there are no reviews, I don't know, there are some places I shop from and I know that, just the way the website is set up, there typically are not reviews, and there's only one website in particular that I'm thinking of that I would feel comfortable purchasing from because I've purchased from them on multiple occasions. But if I'm purchasing from Etsy, for example, Etsy's really good about encouraging people to leave comments and reviews on items, so I can always see, I'm always looking for what someone else's experience was like with a particular seller, especially if it's an item that I'm interested in purchasing. How did it come packaged? Did they experience any pests or anything? And did they have a good experience, with the seller? So definitely look at the reviews and look for anything in particular that says I got the plant, but it was infested with blah, blah, blah. Probably not a seller, or not a store that you would want to shop at. And that could just be a one-off thing, right? But if you have more reviews to look at to get a larger sense of the quality of plants, I think that will help you in the long run. And if you're really concerned about the pests, look for plant clippings or look for bare root options. That does not mean that there will be no pests. I've also had an experience where I've ordered a clipping and it had a pest on it, but it's easier depending on the plant, depending on the number of leaves and all of that stuff, it's easier to inspect a clipping as opposed to an entire plant that is potted in soil, because then at that point it's you're dealing with potential pests in the soil and potential pests that could be living on the plant itself. So I have found clippings to be the easiest to wash when I get them. I can literally put them in the sink depending on how large they are, soap them up with some either Dr. Bronner's or insecticidal soap, wash them off, literally wash the leaves and stuff, wash them off, rinse them off, and then just spray them down and let them do their thing. So that's an option if you're really sort of freaked out about it. And then once you start getting a few clippings, maybe you'll become a bit more open or comfortable with the idea of ordering plants online. Shipping. Number 2 is shipping. Just like anything else that you may buy online, you don't always know when that thing will arrive. And sure, you'll get a tracking number most of the time. You know, if you're ordering from a reputable site, you'll get a tracking number and you'll be able to sort of see where it's moving. But what if it shows up during a snowstorm and you didn't know at the time you bought it that there was going to be a snowstorm with a foot of snow, and then there was a delay, and then the plant was sitting in a warehouse. The warehouse was cold. By the time it gets to you, it's like got frost damage and all of this stuff, right? Or maybe you order the plant during the summer and it's dropped off a day earlier than it's supposed to be dropped off. I know I've definitely ordered, you know, from particular stores and selected a delivery date, and then it shows up earlier than I was expecting, which isn't always good if you want to be home when the item is delivered. You know, so what if your plant shows up and it's a really hot day and you're not going to be home for another 10 hours? You know, so now your plant is sitting in a box on the porch, just in sweltering heat. These are all risks you take when you order plants online. Now, some retailers will offer a heat pack during the winter time, which is usually like, if you're familiar with like the glove warmers or whatever, like it's the little heat packs and you can put them inside your gloves and they kind of like are activated with body heat or something. I don't really know how they work, but they'll wrap the plant up a little bit extra, but you may have to pay $1 or $2 for like this extra service, but it's worth it. If you absolutely have to place a plant order via mail or an online plant order in the winter time, which I don't recommend, but again, like maybe you're sending someone a gift or maybe you just want to buy a plant in the dead of winter, consider adding on a winter bundle or like a heat pack if that's an option. That'll just help your plant hopefully stay alive by the time it gets to you. That's just one thing to keep in mind, and sort of a con when it comes to whether or not it's a good idea to invest your time and energy. If anything, if you're new to plant shopping online, I would highly recommend not doing so in extreme weather conditions. You know, if it is February and you live in Minnesota, you probably don't want to order a plant right now. Maybe wait until the spring or when the weather breaks, or even in the dead of summer when it's very hot. Depending on where you live, that may be a setup for failure. And there are a lot of plant companies out there where you can like pay like some sort of plant protection, so that if your plant is damaged in transit, they will replace it for free. But that's not every company, you know. And if you're buying something off of Etsy, for example, where there are a bunch of independent sellers, they may not offer that service. It may just be like, you know, you get the plant and it's damaged, and like that's just the risk you take in ordering plants online. So if it's at all possible, I tend to order my plants during the spring and the fall when the weather is much milder where I live. But if I absolutely have to order the plant during a more extreme, like either extreme heat or cold, I will do what I can to make sure that I am at home. I'm like watching the tracking nonstop, and then I'm making sure that I'm at home whenever they have the expected delivery date available, so that as soon as it gets there, I can open the plant, tend to it, you know, let it breathe and air out and all of that stuff. And if local delivery is an option, definitely consider that. Number 3 is packaging. Now, there are some things that I'm going to say here with this point for packaging that overlap with shipping. You don't always know until you've ordered from a place for the first time. You don't know exactly how they're going to package your plant. I have ordered plants from places and I open the box and it's like the box was designed for the plant specifically. The leaves are perfectly wrapped, the stem is supported so it doesn't break or bend. But this is not an experience I've had with everyone. You know, like I get some plants and they're just like wrapped up in some tissue paper and thrown in a box. And it's like, that's fine and all, but like when you take the plant out, the soil's all over the place. I've also had plants where it's like they are strategically wrapping like a wet paper towel around the soil so that the plant stays, so that it doesn't completely dry out, but that the soil can't like fall. So I appreciate when retailers, online retailers, take the time to think about how they're going to be shipping these living plants to you, so that they're not completely destroyed once they're going through the mail or the, you know, UPS or whatever to get to you. But I've also had, like I said, some experiences where it's just like a box and they put the plant in there and they put a little plastic bubble and that's supposed to be enough, and then the plant is just, it looks all mangled and sad by the time it gets to you. You just don't know how the plant is going to arrive. So that's why it's really important to consider what the reviews are saying, and the reviews will typically tell you the condition that the plants are in. Most of the time, if you're ordering from some sort of like reputable online plant boutique or like a greenhouse that's like pretty well known, like they know how to ship plants, you know, like especially if they're a place that does wholesale, because like that's their business. So they know how to ship plants. Even if you're just buying like 1 or 2 plants, they're going to know how to ship it to you. But you know, not every independent, let's say like person on Etsy that's shipping plants knows how to properly ship a plant. And if you see a lot of reviews that just say like the shipping was trash and the plant came destroyed, like that should be your indicator that maybe that's not the place where you should be buying your plants, because you don't want to be paying money for the plant and then paying shipping costs for the plant to come destroyed, and you may not be able to have it replaced if that is the case. All right, and those are my tips on how to navigate the online plant retailer space. Definitely worth it if you're thinking you want to branch out into buying plants online and you've just been a little nervous to do so.